and share the screen. Hello again, and welcome to our session on preparing for the build season. Just about to share the screen here. Here we are. So it's a very, very short slide presentation just to get the conversation going. And hopefully by the end of the session, then we'll have introductions and what your team's goals are for the build season. And that will help us to shape the discussion. And then we'll have the chance to discuss and find ways to, as it says here, to make the most of the build season. And so we'll start with some introductions for those who are here, and our group is gradually growing. I'm just going to stop the share so we can see each other. And I'll start at random in the order in which the names appear on my screen here. Let's have everyone just give a brief introduction and a little background as to what your team may like to accomplish or what you personally may like to accomplish during the build season. And we'll start with Bilal.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I just don't understand your question. Good.
Oh, just asking what your goal or your team's goal may be for the build season, which will begin on January 6th.
My goal is for the build season. My first goal is to win in the competition, and my second goal, and I think the first goal is is for all the team, and my second goal is to learn something during the building the robots. Learn coding, learn about mechanical, like this.
Nice. Also, I might just request that everyone may share their team number through their name. You may look and see some of the names have team numbers, and I'll change my name to reflect that with First Robotics Canada.
Sorry?
Might you just add your team number onto your name in Zoom?
Oh, my team?
Yeah, your team number. For example, I just changed my name to First Robotics Canada, or I added that onto my name. And there we are. So thank you, Bilal. And we'll see if we can create some discussion that will help you to achieve these goals. And we'll continue with Suzanne.
So I'm the lead mentor for 9621. Regarding goals and aspirations and stuff, I'll leave that to CJ. He's the more technical guy, my son.
We may see that Suzanne's goal is to have the team operate, and then Connor has more specific robotics related goals.
Yeah, I manage. That's what I'm good at.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm Connor. I'm a student mentor for Team 9621, and my goals for this year building season is to make a functioning robot that can at least do one basic task.
Admirable goal, to be sure, and we'll come around to that. I think that's a really great strategy. And we'll continue with Daniel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daniel Clements. I'm one of the faculty mentors for Team 9580 with Change the Now at Georgian College in Barrie. I guess one of my goals is to see this team come together and move forward into our competition. And hopefully we can get a working robot in the competition at Georgian College this year too.
That's amazing.
Nice to see everyone.
It would be interesting to know your background in the faculty, Daniel. What area of the faculty are you in?
So I'm actually a chef technologist for hospitality and tourism. So I don't really have the technical skills for the robots, but I'm more for the event management, fundraising side and the team building. I also work as a level officer for the 102 Barrie Air Cadet Squadron. So I am familiar with working with youth, leadership, taskings, things like that. So I'm hoping to be able to parlay some of those skills and some of those connections into the robotics world as well.
That's great. Now I remember from last time, there were quite a lot more people last time on the call, and yeah, great to see you again, Daniel. So there is a question, and this is something that in my own experience, I've made all of my calls open to mentors and students, and I feel that's the way you build community. And FRC is a very mentor-driven kind of activity, and so having mentors and students is quite fine. And that you've even noticed in some cases, I have students making presentations. I think this is a great place to build those capacities. So students and mentors are most welcome in the call. We also have Ildiko.
Hi, everyone. I'm a new teacher in this field, and I learned that we have some strengths and some weaknesses. So we have really good drive team, build team, but we don't have enough money to buy the high-priced components. So we need to get a strategy and technique. That's what we are building.
Excellent.
Sponsorship, of course, and we need more mentors to come into our school and help us. So there's a lot of things we are looking here.
So that's really great. Thank you, Ildiko. And we'll proceed to Peter.
Hi. So glad to be back in one of these sessions. Yeah, our goal for the coming year is we want to get Swerve Drive fully functioning. We have built a Swerve Drive using the Rev Swerve components. Got it driving. It's really fast, and it's going to take some time to train drivers, no question. One of the other things that's kind of cool is there's another team building something called Path Planner, which allows you to, in a screen image of your competition space, determine your start point, your waypoints, and then your end point. And not just for autonomous, but potentially also for during gameplay. So if you have to scoot off and go get a new cargo from a cargo charging station, then you select an algorithm and off you go. So that's one of the things we want to start experimenting with. We've installed a Limelight prototype, and we have Limelight recognizing April tags now. So that's useful. I'm not sure how that's going to play this year, because being able to recognize an April tag and then using that information in a meaningful way, the second part of that is really going to be the challenge. I know another team in one of their online presentations has shown if they can see multiple April tags at the same time, they can triangulate and actually determine their position on the field, which is kind of neat. So other things we're working with is a NavX2 card, and as a backup, the FRC gyro as part of the whole navigation thing. So we're getting smarter. I'm kind of leveraging some of the expertise of a couple of my students. They're part of the PTech program established by IBM. So they're taking some dual credit courses in computer programming, and we selected the Java language right at the get-go 5 years ago when the program started. So their Java is strong, and hopefully they'll be able to push that, and we can leverage it for maximum advantage. So, and our goal ultimately this year is want to get to provincial.
Amazing. So, well, great to hear from everyone. And we have a small group. Please feel free to jump in at any time. And this call is for you, so we can guide the discussion as you wish. I've just put together a few pointers that have accumulated over the years that come up repeatedly in interactions with other teams and mentors around the province. And this should hopefully get our conversation started. So I'll just share my screen and bring up a few topics for discussion, and then we can discuss them in more detail. So it'd be interesting just to hear from everyone. If we've already got some clues, some will be building the kit bots, some may go up to the level of everybot, and there are some who make custom robots. And even among the custom robots, there are some that are based on the kit of parts, a chassis, for example, and others that have a custom chassis, and others that may even have a swerve chassis. So there's quite a low floor and high ceiling kind of event or activity where everyone has an access to at least a working robot, but then teams may decide how sophisticated to get in their build activities. So those are the big questions there, determining where your team would like to fit. The kitbot, so far as we've heard, can be built out of the box. Maybe if it's like the everybot, there may be a few minor parts that you may need to purchase to get it going, but it sounds like it's a fully operational, game ready sort of kit that will come with instructions. And then the everybot will be a modification of the kitbot this year, which is the first time that that's happened. And we will be sure to be in touch with the community as the everybot program unfolds in January. It usually starts with an expression of interest in January, shortly after the game is released, as to whether your team would like to take the everybot route. And we would include you then in a mailing list, and then set up a few quick Zoom calls to get all the planning done. And then we schedule some times for quick builds. We've already got one scheduled for London, here in London on the second weekend of the build season. And based on what we learned there, we'll improve and modify and bring what we've learned into the Mississauga sessions, which we'll hopefully book for the final week of January or thereabouts. And that's where we'd probably build elements of, or as much of as possible, of the everybot. To help with the everybot, there are often parts that need to be machined to go with it. And last year we had 2 teams come in to help machine those parts. And we were able to provide 17 everybots throughout the province in that way. A few of them just popped up on their own throughout the province, but we produced about 17 everybots. Or at least the parts for them. And of course, there's the custom robot route. Some rookie teams even took that last year and were quite successful, but they also had a very strong support from other teams in so doing. So that's something to consider for your team. So the strategies that we may take to make the best of the build season, maybe I'll just tell a few anecdotes that go with each of these. And so we have game analysis and design and build and testing. As you know, the game is not just like a set of Monopoly rules with 2 or 3 pages. We're talking 100 to 120 pages in a typical season of very detailed rules that go along with the level of sophistication of the robots and requires some careful thought. It is very easy to jump in and just start putting things together for a robot. In my first few years as a rookie mentor, we ended up doing quick builds on the very first day of the competition. And one thing that I found, every time we did that, we had to take the robot apart because our perimeter ended up being not compliant to the game rules. A detail we didn't know on the very first day of the game reveal. And so rushing into things, though it feels great to get started, often it is said that slower is faster and faster is slower, because trying to rush ahead, you will no doubt run into some situations where you overlook a key detail and may have to backtrack a little. So that's where the game analysis comes in very handy. And doing a thorough game analysis with your team may help you to uncover those things you didn't know that you didn't know, including the limitations on the perimeter, the height on the bumpers, the gauges on the wires, the required fuses to go with the motors, and the allowed motors on certain circuits, how many motors per circuit. All of these details are in the game manual and they go along with the game. So maybe I should have said game manual analysis, because not only the rules of the game will dictate your robot build, but the robot build rules and the allowed motors, the entire game manual is an important element of your preparation for the season. So the taking a little time to do that will no doubt pay off. And some strategies that I've heard throughout the province, no one person is going to know all 120 pages, but maybe small groups of participants may be responsible for 1 or 2 sections or 1 or 2 chapters of the game manual, depending on how it's organized, and allow them to drive forward the conversation where the robot build is concerned or the overall strategy of the team is concerned. And that can really benefit you in the long run. The game analysis will also give you your anticipated sort of rate of return on the investment for your efforts to build various game functions into your robot. So for example, in the 2017 season, our team was dazzled by the prospect of collecting these little wiffle ball elements that were the fuel for the steam generator in the Steamworks game. And we put a lot of effort into that, but only later realized that the rate of collecting of the balls and firing them into the steam generator was far less on a points basis than just collecting a few gears. And so our robot was not really effective because we were more dazzled by the challenge of building a functional sort of ball collector for our robot. So there are, anyway, it can be a great satisfaction to get something working, but if you're looking to be competitive, you also have to build that return on investment into your analysis of the game. So I see there's a message here. I'm just going to check the chat. So, oh yeah, I see Daniel, maybe you're commenting that your thought for the release day is to just do the game analysis. What my
sorry, William, that's kind of what we were talking about. So we met last weekend to kind of discuss what that first day is going to look like, and that was one of the things that was brought up, is taking that rule book, dividing it up into teams. Our guys have kind of started thinking about, do they want to be electrical, do they want to be mechanical, do they want to be design and graphic arts, stuff like that, and they're sort of going to pick and choose which parts they're going to take and really go through all the rules and make sure that we are following that stuff the first day. So I'm glad we're on the right path.
That sounds good. I think that will pay off more often than not, because it allows you to see the big picture, see the end in the beginning, and act accordingly. Part of the game analysis also has to be considered in the light of your team's overall capability for building the robot. If you have lots of engineers and experienced students, your situation is different than if you're a rookie team. And I was glad to hear Connor just mention that the goal is to have one function on the robot and do it very well. I think that's a really great preliminary strategy. If you make that robot reliable, double, triple check all of the connections, make sure everything is going to work every time, and then you're able to build one working function onto the robot to contribute to the outcome of games, then you will be a desirable alliance pick, and you will more often than not end up receiving some recognition from other teams for that and moving along the season quite spectacularly. So I think that really is an important element of your game analysis, not only to understand the game, but to understand the game in light of your team's capability and what would be the best for your team to focus on, given all things considered, I suppose. So the game analysis, I've heard that some teams use Kahoots and have little quizzes to say, okay, you can't pass until you answer 3 questions about the game rules in section 5 or something like that. So the teams make a sort of a game out of analyzing the game and knowing the key rules. It's also important to keep up with updates from headquarters. Occasionally there are changes to the game rules, and they may show up in an email to the lead mentor. So you may want to monitor that through the season, just in case some key element changes based on the unfolding gameplay. So that's a really great sort of comment here, that January 6th, we have team 4039, a really well-regarded team in our community, bringing a lot of groups together. And that's a really great way to spend January 6th, to really analyze and reflect on these rules. So really great start for everyone. And that's an interesting thing as well. The simulation with people playing roles of robots would be very good because you sort of get a sense. It's kind of difficult when you're just reading a paragraph to really understand and say, oh, that's like, if I collect 10 balls, that's 30 points. Yeah, but how long does it take you to collect the 10 balls compared to one gear and bringing back the 2017 season, for example? And the doing a little role play may help you to tease out some of the subtleties of the game. And we were noticing this at the first Tech Challenge event in Windsor on the weekend, where some teams really tear apart the game analysis, or they do such detailed game analysis that they're able to make overall executive decisions. For example, the decision to climb on the part of one team was dictated by the extra points that would be gained, because yes, you get a fair number of points for climbing, but you can also get points for just parking, and parking is much more reliable and timely than climbing. So instead of climbing at the end of the match, the team was able to do one more thing, get a few more points doing something else, and then park and get almost as many points, but very reliably. And that kind of thinking went into their entire robot design, and as a result, they did quite well in the competition. And you see this in the FRC as well, when you have the teams very carefully analyzing and doing this early, it always pays off. So those are a few thoughts there. That might bring us down to the design process. And if there are any questions, please feel free to pipe up. I'm just going to tell a few kind of anecdotes that have come from various teams. I see a little post here in the notes. Interesting, the recommendation of a 4-inch wheel, because typically we have 6-inch wheels. Wow, only speculation at this point as well. That's a really great sort of a point to bring up. Thank you, Peter, for sharing that link. That'll be useful, no doubt. The link here, maybe we could just take a very quick look at that. FRC Kitbot bill of materials. Wow, is this open right now? That's really great that you were able to find this. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be public knowledge right now. It was my understanding that this was going to be released during the game. Did you receive this in an official email, Peter? Yes, okay, just double checking there.
Yeah, the idea is that there's some parts that sometimes have to be ordered ahead of time.
Yes.
They sometimes have longer lead times. So they put a bill of materials together each year with some recommendations. I didn't see a bill of materials before. It was more robot oriented. I did see before bill of materials more for field elements, so that you can, early on construct models of the different field elements.
Well, it's really great to know this here.
Yeah. But I'm thinking that maybe with just 2 of these wheels, thinking shooter, maybe smaller diameter. Otherwise, you might have something a little bit more substantial. Maybe not such an obvious recommendation here for the 2-inch for the 4-inch wheel.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Peter.
To see what happens.
So we'll no doubt share this on a little update for everyone who's doing the Kitbot. And this is really most helpful. So we are back here then to our design. So as you see there, the Kitbot bill of materials, if you build just the Kitbot, then the focus on design is not as strong as much of the design has been done. it's only if you start then to modify your kitbot later on that design may come into play. So the degree to which your team learns design is also dictated by your experience and your endeavor and your ambition during a given season. So you may want to try to build the kitbot very quickly and then proceed to improving on the kitbot with a sort of a submodule designed by your team that would enhance its capabilities or add a new function to the robot in some way. And so there were many little modifications. Design can be very simple, simply saying, oh, this robot, when it's hanging, is kind of hitting the floor. This happened with some of our Everybots 2 years ago. And some of the teams resolved the issue by putting a weight in a certain part of the robot to balance it out. And that's not really detailed design, but then it can also go to the point of visualizing a whole new module and simulating it on a CAD program, and then seeing how that might integrate with the existing robot. All of that dependent on your experience. So again, keeping things simple is good in the beginning. And if you do get into design, always just remember that the design should move forward your overall goal and not take you down the path of getting distracted by the complexities without the proper experience or number of people to carry out your design. So keeping things simple in the earlier stages will pay off for sure. So I think it would be a very good idea for some of the teams to look at this kit of parts and start sourcing them out, as it may cause some of them to be in short supply. So that's a really timely contribution there, Peter. So we've had whole sessions on design, and there are many aspects to the word design. It's a little like general. If you do get into building your own custom robot, some of the things that teams do to be more effective, they do what's called rapid prototyping. They may make several models of an intake or of a climber rapidly, trying out very crudely done parts that are approximately the final shape, and then trying different radii of spinning or torques or motors or different gearboxes to optimize the design with as many trials and errors as possible in as short a time as possible. This is only really possible if you have access to the proper equipment to help you. So in so doing, some teams are able to draw on the support of colleges, but you do need to be there. So you have to make the best use of your time. And other teams have built up a collection of equipment on site in their schools, and this makes it more easy to sustain over a long time. So the more rapidly you can make errors and make adjustments, the better your overall design will end up being. And the idea, many teams will build elements out of plywood or simple components, inexpensive components like maybe MDF board, not designed to last more than 1 or 2 trials, just to see if they have the right grip on the ball as it's launched, or the right torque for the robot to climb, and things like this. And then once the design is confirmed, then the final building of the robot takes place. Again, emphasizing the balance of ambition and practicality. And that gets into your build. If while the design process is happening, you have some others just building the drive base, at least you have a working robot. So the design and build, in a way, can be accomplished at the same time, especially if the team is doing a kitbot and already know the perimeter of the robot. You may have some who are focused on getting the drive base built, while others are looking at the instructions for building the kitbot and getting that done. And then for those teams, maybe later in the season, you may take on a week 4 or 5 or 6 project to modify something on your robot, whether that's in the build season or even later in the season. And that brings us down to testing. And I should have put on here driving practice. I've heard many anecdotes that relate to the most successful teams being on the field as early as possible. So getting your testing done as early as possible, preferably driving on a field. So there are different fields around Ontario that typically come up in a given year. And there are teams in Hamilton, Toronto, in various parts, and even Kingston that have facilities. And maybe there will be more teams. Once we find out about those game elements that are available through the province, we will no doubt share them in our program updates, and so that teams can reach out to other teams to get practice on a real field. Even if that's not possible, you may be able to build crude designs for your own field elements in your own build space and find a place to test your robot. So the more testing and driving practice you can do, the more smooth you will be in the actual competition. And you can really tell this when the teams enter the field on the first day, the teams that have had a lot of practice versus those that haven't. So those are some of the things to consider. The overall strategy for your build season. Just going to take a pause here to see if there are any overall comments. I see a few comments here. The coupons and vouchers. That's great. An elevator kit. The suspicion that there may be a climb in 2024 is there. That's a really good point. As there is a climb in the FTC. I don't know if that has anything to say about the FRC, but the FTC this year did have a climb. And the bumper strategy, that's interesting about reversible bumpers. I really like them because I really don't like taking off bumpers or anyway, if the bumpers are not carefully designed, it can be quite a hassle to take them off. And there was a year that we did, it wasn't reversible. We just had a Velcro blue that stuck over our red, and that wasn't perfect, but it actually lasted most of the time. The risk being, if you don't do it with a robust enough Velcro, it may fall off. The reversible bumpers are really nice as well. It's just also making sure you have the capability to build them robustly so that they don't get affected by the gameplay. So that is something that's very much worth doing early in the build season as well. Once you have your perimeter, you could have 1 or 2 students just working on bumpers and get that done. And even if you just do very simple bumpers, following carefully the advice of the teams on the internet. For example, last year's Everybot had some great instructions for bumpers, making them strong and easy to take on and off the robot. It will really pay off in between matches. So that's really a great point about the bumper as strategy. So maybe at this point, we will open up for any particular questions or reflections on what we shared so far. I know that there are different sort of goals that were expressed. For example, Ildiko was focused on the fundraising aspect of the season, being able to afford as much as possible. I'm wondering, based on some of our previous discussions, for example, on the fundraising and community building section, what are some of the strategies your team is looking at to address that issue?
In respect of fundraising?
Yeah.
We're not really focused on fundraising. We're right now focusing on sponsorship. Connor is after the local pizza guy, the local business, so he will fund our pizzas for build days. So, but there's a couple of, we've done a bunch of other ones too last Tuesday. Just we realized that heading to corporate level for these franchises is not easy, but if you get feet on the ground and talk to the franchise owners locally, it's so much easier. So we're just working on that right now.
Nice. And how about your team, Ildiko?
Oh, we're gonna get some pizzas as well for the coming weeks because some parents want to help us. So yeah, it's shaping.
And how about the overall fundraising? As you mentioned, that was one of your concerns.
Well, if we want to go for the provincials, then we need money, right?
Yeah.
So we reach high.
Okay.
Hopefully we're gonna get to there.
So hopefully you'll be able to, with the whole team together, try several strategies. And as Suzanne was alluding to, it's kind of difficult to go to a large faceless corporation, but if you know the local franchise owner, that's a personal connection, and those personal connections go far, and that applies in many fundraising situations. So hopefully that will work out.
We had one of our student mentors bring up a really good one, and I guess they had done with another team at some point. I don't know, you may have heard, but it's called the 100 from 100 or 100 100. So it's 100 different sponsors, each with $100.
Wow.
So split it up and try
Yeah.
and get that total number, and everybody kind of throws in a little bit. $100 isn't a huge kind of donation. And I mean, it's significant, but it's not like a massive donation. And then kind of parlay that into something else. My thought for that idea was to take it and turn it into part of like a yearbook or part of like a newsletter that would come out after the competition, kind of like a summary of the season and how the team did, and make sure that 100 all got recognition within that document, whether it's a digital or a printed document.
That sounds amazing.
Something along those lines. We're also looking at selling swag and t-shirts.
That's
So make sure families are able to purchase, t-shirts, sweaters, stuff like that. So you get some team recognition and give them an opportunity to show their enthusiasm for the group.
nice. 100 from 100 could chip in an extra 20 and get a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few good ideas floating around. We started looking at some of our networking within the team as well. Who do you know? What businesses are your parents or family members affiliated with that you think might work or might be interested? We're talking about a few local real estate agents that generally support a lot of community-driven activities as well. So they're sometimes a good source for that kind of stuff. So we're looking for some alternative. I mean, we do have an advantage of being the local college, and the fact that we also have the competition on site. It's a benefit and a hindrance as well. We need to make sure that we're not interfering with the competition's fundraising as well. So we're working that out right now. When it comes to the corporate side, if we're looking for corporate sponsors, we don't want to double dip in that. So we're looking at for more of the lower local community sponsors that might play into this.
Nice. And there are examples of events around the province that have a dual sponsorship of a team and an event. So those might be something we could circle around about. And then there are also instances where a large sponsor is not really all that excited about one team being sponsored, but are more willing to talk about 10 or 20 teams in some cases. So just the scale that goes with some of those large corporations is really beneficial to many. So that's great. The fundraising piece was raised up. It'd be interesting to hear from Connor some of your thoughts around doing one function and doing it well. I really like that because it's more often than not that you hear, oh yeah, we want to do everything.
So for this year, I'm not too sure what the competition is to focus on, but when we went to the Stanley Cup, it was just me and one other person. The 2023 game, you had cones and cubes. You could either stack cones, you could stack cubes, or and then there's the balancing part as well. We found that me and my buddy, when we were competing, we were able to get 3 cubes in every time and successfully balanced. So we managed to do that every game we played. We won about half of our games. And then when we competed in the finals, we got selected and we were told to just keep doing what we did. We were really good at doing these 3 cubes and balancing that. That's all we did. And we managed to help win at the Stanley Cup.
Nice. And that was an exciting moment indeed. And so you see the wisdom of our competition. It is organized in such a way that even a new team can make a difference in a match, and that gets recognized. So yeah, very wise indeed. And Peter, it might be interesting to hear about your thoughts about the Swerve Drive and how far you've gotten so far, and what are your sort of reflections on this process.
Yeah, we had a choice last year of going to provincials or spending the money on a Swerve Drive. And our team unanimously voted for the Swerve Drive this year, but with the intention of this year doing the provincials.
Wow.
We looked around for Swerve Drive. The only module we could find was that was available was the Rev one. and it's a new product. They also have code for it, and code worked pretty much out of the box, which is really important for a team like ours engaging in that in the first place. So it's really fast, so we have to really throttle it down when we're learning how to drive this thing. So and we have to get the bumpers on right at the beginning. Otherwise, we'll be slamming into a lot of things, people and walls and so on. One of the things that's really important, though, is that the slick hallway floors and so on, the spaces that we have available really are not well suited for swerve drive. Just driving a chassis around is a little bit artificial. So adding some ballast is something that is very strongly recommended when learning how to drive a swerve drive.
Interesting.
About 140 pounds total weight is what's recommended.
Wow.
The chassis is about 38 pounds with a slab of plywood, the metal frame, electronics, and the swerve module. So, we can easily add another 100 pounds. You could have one of our team members sit on it. But of course, that's a safety thing about that. And we're not going to do that. But yeah, so, and I think that'll also affect its drivability, because when the chassis is under a load, as opposed to being extremely lightweight and fast moving, I think we'll have quite a different kind of behavior. So, but one of our plans is very much to get it to the Robodome, and we're always going to be on the lookout for some carpet at the end of a competition. Sometimes
there will be a sign up for that.
Yeah, sometimes the carpet gets shredded and it's then given up to teams. Haul away as much carpet as you want, that kind of thing. Each year I've put in dibs for carpet, but we've never scored any. So
interesting. One part of it, it's easier to get carpet if you ask for half or full rather than quarter.
Okay.
Because we prioritize that, because we have to dispose of it and we don't want to waste it. And so one way it may be to get together with 2 or 3 teams and say, okay, well, one of us will take away the whole carpet, but then that'll be actually 4 of us taking it away or something like that.
Yeah, well, we've scored a trailer, not that we own it, but the dad of one of our team members, now he's graduating, but then his sister just started at the school in grade 9. So we've got Mike and his minivan and his trailer for another 4 years.
Wow, not bad. Well, that will help.
So I think that can augur well for the carpet. So, but that's going to be a priority for us to see if we can do that. Now, can you educate me on this? At the end of every competition, is a carpet basically chucked?
No, actually,
or is it used multiple times?
There was, all of them were accounted for, even at the provincials. All carpets were taken away, except for one, and that was because the vehicle that showed up to take the carpet was not up to the job. And that's the only reason we had to end up disposing of that carpet only. All the rest were accounted for and sent around to teams in Ontario.
Okay. No, my question was, though, is that at the end of a competition, so for example, we're competing at Waterloo. At the end of the Waterloo competition, is that carpet then up for grabs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
and you will see a program update about that in January, and you can sign up for a carpet and put down your preference for which event you would like to get the carpet for.
Yeah, so it's basically good for the 2 days or 3 days of competition.
Yeah.
And then it's disposed of. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So a little more carpet available than I thought there might be.
Yeah.
Not knowing if it got reused or not.
So yeah, they almost all the carpets have been reused in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but not reused for another competition.
Only for the off seasons. A lot of them end up in off season events, and you'll know right away. You see the telltale signs, especially in the age of swerve. There's lots of abstract art on the carpets when you start.
Yeah, that's the other thing that we found interesting. With the swerve experience of other teams, because the first year of the Rev Swerve Drive, that with the rubber wheels that it ships with, that one team was saying, and I quote them, that they got tens of minutes of lifetime out of a set of wheels.
Wow.
Tens of minutes.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, those wheels wear out really fast.
Yeah.
Now there's a version 2 wheel which we have. I don't know what the experience has been with that. So maybe, with a version 2 wheel, it's a better thing. But we did manage to get some aluminum wheels with the tread that you have to bolt on, and it fits
Nice.
the modules. So we'll see. We might be driving it around the parking lot a little bit, tear up the rubber wheels we have right now,
Yeah.
and then deliberately replace them with the aluminum wheels with the rubber tread.
Wow. So that sounds really good. I think there's one little story that kind of highlights the diversity in our community. At Georgian College, we saw a new swerve drive that was designed by a team, and they said, "Well, we're going to make this available." So I thought, "Oh, that's really interesting." And then in another meeting, I was talking about the swerve drive from this team. So some teams are saying, "Oh, that's great. Let us know, and we'll use that." Another team said, "Oh, we'd never used that in a million years." So why is that? Well, because it hasn't been tested. They prefer to buy an off-the-shelf unit because they know it's been through some testing.
Yeah, our IT department is like that. They're rolling out Windows 10 on student computers.
Ouch.
And faculty computers. I told them, no. Yeah. The robotics team must be Windows 11. So
yeah, oh yeah,
we're at the bleeding edge according to them. So
oh my. So yeah, that's another element of it. Yeah. So well, there are lots of things to consider for the build season. I hope that we've at least started to address some of your plans for the build season. Not sure if there are any big topics that come to mind in terms of your overall preparation. And I really like the idea, like, for example, 9621 and 7509 and even 854, all of your teams have been networking throughout the community and drawing on the resources of others and supporting others. And in so doing, yeah, it's one of the great ways to engage or to be successful is to have that strong level of connection with other teams.
Yeah, absolutely. We've also established contact with a couple of teams in the States and do more long distance mentoring. Chief Delphi is an excellent resource, and that often leads to a bidirectional relationship with another team that can be very useful.
That's
so yeah, anything we can do that way, and anything we can do to get our kids excited about particularly in the off season, because there's not much going on, not so exciting. Our guys got really pumped with Stanley Cup participation. We have a lot of new grade 9s, and they enjoyed the experience, though the outcome was not what they wanted. But we keep telling them it's about gaining the experience so that you have an idea about what it's all about, and then you're ready for the season.
So I wonder if you have any final thoughts or questions or reflections, Suzanne, Connor, or Ildiko.
So I have a question. We have two plays. One is before the spring break. The other one is right after the spring break. But we don't know where to go on the spring break because the school is going to be closed.
Oh yeah.
Plays. So yeah, that's something we will look into.
There are many ways that teams deal with that. Even within the Toronto District School Board, many teams are participating in part of spring break. It does require maybe support from the school and the community of parents, and it may require some permissions to be granted out beforehand. Sometimes it requires you to take the robot home or have it stored at some off-site place with permission of the school so that you can gain access to it and things like that. So, and it's really good to get permissions for those things worked out as early as possible. So you may want to look into that as soon as you can to make sure that all the elements have been considered and that all of the policies of the school have been met in your plans. At the moment, your team, I can't remember, are you in Humber?
Yeah, we go to Humber and
Then it must be either Durham or Georgian. Or is it, yeah, I can look that up, I guess.
yeah, so it's before March break and after March break. So yeah, we have a 1 week where we don't know where to go. Just lock
Yeah.
it and keep it in the, I don't know, in the trailer.
Oh, so I just wanted to sort of look that up so we can look at your timeline because it's an important consideration. So just double checking, your team is at Humber.
Yeah, one is Humber, the other one is I think it's
And-
Seneca. Forgot the name of the college. Yeah, it's 2 colleges.
Humber and Centennial. No, Newmarket. That's
So-
it.
so 2.
Is it? That's strange. I don't know why it's showing up here in that column.
So those 2, yeah.
Yeah, there it is, Centennial and Humber. So Centennial is at the very first, on the first weekend of the March break. And Humber is when you come back. So in theory, you may have access to your robot for the March break because the school may be closed by the time you get finished your first weekend.
Yeah, so we have to keep the robot because we won't be able to return it to the school.
Yeah, so you may want to have plans with that. That allows a small team to work on the robot, hopefully during that time and improve it. And
Yeah, we want to find a place where we
Yeah.
can.
So hopefully there's some way to do that. You may want to network with a few other teams because there'll be some similar situations of teams that are participating in Humber and before that Centennial, and maybe there's a way to work together.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Great. Well, very good to see everyone this evening. And of course, if you have more questions, very happy to work with you on those. And I'll get back to your email, Suzanne, and confirm that we've got a strategy for your kickoff. Sorry about that.
No, no worries. I'm sure it'll be fine. I know they're still trying to, I think Matt said that there was another team joining us as well. So I think they're still trying to sort it all out themselves.
Okay. That's good.
Thank you for everything. And honestly, it was very terrifying as a pre-rookie team to come and know nothing but robotics, and you have been making it so much easier with all the information to know that we like at least have some sort of like knowledge of how to move forward and what to expect on January 6th. And all the networking has been really, really nice so that we don't feel like we're left in the cold.
I really
So thank
feel
you.
grateful to the community for that because I have a kind of a personality where I have tunnel vision and I don't always consider what either A, I don't know, or B, what other people don't know. And with the help of the community, I've been able to put together these presentations and really makes me grateful to be part of such an amazing community throughout the province.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter and Dico and Connor and Suzanne. We'll hope to see you all very soon, maybe even some of you on the kickoff day. And if not, soon thereafter, as that 2 months will go very quickly.
Well, Merry Christmas.
And all Merry Christmas to all as well. And we'll, look forward to seeing you soon.
So,
Take
bye.
care and good night.